We are now a few days into the league year, and there has already been a lot of moves, such as Tom Brady signing with the Bucks, DeAndre Hopkins being traded to the Cardinals, and the Minnesota Vikings trading star wide receiver Stefon Diggs to the Bills. In today's video, we will discuss the Diggs trade and ultimately the Minnesota Vikings' future. But before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. We're starting the video off with this. Kirk Cousins is the Vikings franchise quarterback no matter what. They wouldn't have gave him a 2-year, $66 million extension, with 61 of that being guaranteed if they didn't believe so. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, and despite narratives that surround him, such as he can't beat good teams or whatever else, he at the end of the day is a good quarterback. In the past 2 years alone, Cousins has more touchdown passes than Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Dak Prescott, all while playing in less games. If that's enough to convince you that Kirk is a good quarterback, then we can go to this. Kirk has more playoff wins this decade than Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Lamar Jackson combined. Obviously, the last one is a very skewed stat, but at the end of the day, Kirk is a good quarterback, and that's all there is to it. He's not a great top 5 quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes or a Russell Wilson, but he is good enough to lead the Vikings to the playoffs, which brings me to my next point. If the Vikings are trying to rebuild, why would they extend a top 10 quarterback? So far this offseason, the Vikings have extended Kirk Cousins, extended Pro Bowl fullback CJ Ham, re-signed their kicker and punter Dan Bailey and Britton Colquitt, and franchise tag safety Anthony Harris. However, what they have also done is let a lot of key players walk, such as corners Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander. They also let defensive lineman Stephen Weatherly walk and cut Linval Joseph, and inexplicably cut guard Josh Klein. My question to the front office at this point is, what exactly is the plan going forward? Obviously, the Vikings couldn't keep everybody, and I hope everyone watching this video knows that, but I don't understand cutting a solid starting guard in Josh Klein to save just $1.5 million. For everyone who does not know, the guy in line to replace Klein at this point is Drew Samia, which is a player the Vikings drafted in the 4th round of the 2019 draft. This is a huge gamble by the front office to trust that Samia will come in and play good right away to save just $1.5 million. The Vikings at the time of this video release have 12 picks in the upcoming draft and 5 in the first 3 rounds. General Manager Rick Spielman will certainly have his work cut out for him, as his corners that are currently on the roster are Mike Hughes and Holton Hill, and they are not good, at least not yet, and the team will need to address that early and often in the upcoming draft. We saw the Packers in the 2018 draft Jair Alexander and corner Josh Jackson with their first 2 picks, and although this doesn't directly correlate to those selections, they did go to the NFC Championship game in those players' second year in the NFL. The Vikings had a huge decision to make on former star corner Xavier Rhodes, and they, at the end of the day, had to cut him. Xavier got burned time and time again in 2019 and committed hold after hold on defense. He needed to be released from the contract he was under, as let's just be honest here, Xavier in no way, shape, or form was getting the job done. The funny thing about Rhodes is he'll limit Julio Jones every time he plays him, but he'll get toasted consistently by a player like Golden Tate, go figure. Anyways, the Vikings need help at corner in the worst way, and with 12 picks in the upcoming draft, they will have to address the position a few times. Not only will the Vikings have to address the corner position during the draft, but with the departure of Stephen Weatherly and Everson Griffin potentially not re-signing with the team as well, the defensive line could be very well hurting going into the new year. Everyone at this point knows about all-world defensive end Danielle Hunter, but the real question going into 2020 is who will play opposite of him. First things first, I don't blame Stephen Weatherly for going to get $6 million per year from the Panthers. Fans around the league think a player should be loyal and take a discount to stay with the team, and while we all would like that to happen, it's just not a reality. This isn't limited to just Stephen Weatherly, but he is between his 20s and his 30s to really set himself and his family up for financial success down the road, and he has to do what's in his best interest. I would have loved for the Vikings to keep him around, because Stephen Weatherly was low-key a fan favorite with his solid backup ability and his goofy personality. Everyone loved him. But this is a business, and keeping him in purple just was not a reality. The problem I have if the Vikings choose not to re-sign Everson is there is no viable backup defensive end to play opposite Danielle, which in turn will leave offensive lines to double and triple team him at will. Re-signing Everson Griffin at this point in time is a must for the front office. Now we address the wide receiver position in Stefon Diggs. First things first, the Vikings received a great haul for him, and he, as much as I hate to say it, had to be dealt. Diggs was at the point where he was a distraction, and it wasn't worth it to our team for what he does on the field, for the distractions he causes off the field. I, like a lot of other Vikings fans, are sad to see him go, but business is business and it was time. That being said, it leaves a big hole at the wide receiver position for who will play next to Adam in 2020 and beyond that. My guess at this point is the team will draft a receiver in the first 2 rounds because this receiver's draft class has been labeled as one of, if not the best ever. If we are to miss out on a player like Judy, Ruggs, or Lamb in the first round, then we can wait until the second round and still get a quality player. Prioritizing the corner position and offensive line is key in the draft if we are going to protect our franchise quarterback and Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison for that matter. But on the same side of the coin, we can't go into 2020 with BC Johnson as our number 2 wide receiver if we expect to be competitive and win the NFC North. I honestly think what Rick Spielman and the rest of the staff is trying to do is load up for a great 2021. Players like Harrison Smith, Kyle Rudolph, and even Adam Thielen for that matter are getting older and will all be in their 30s when the 2020 season starts. Kirk is already in his 30s as well. What I think happens is the Vikings have an aggressive draft in 2020 with the 12 picks they do have, and they go hard after the positions they need. We know now that they won't have a chance at a player like Jeff Okudah, but they could still get a solid corner in CJ Henderson out of Florida, or a solid offensive tackle out of Houston like Josh Jones. The Vikings getting any of the big 4 tackles without trading up is extremely unlikely, and I don't expect them to trade up with Riley Reiff still under contract. However, what is concerning about the 2020 season especially is how many role players that the team will have to replace, and not only that, but how many rookies will have to step their game up. While I do think the team has a bright future in the early 20s with this plethora of draft picks we have in the next 2 years, I think the 2020 season itself may be the bottom of that run. Kirk will play this season at 32 years old, and we know he's not mobile, so I'm not worried about his game deteriorating until he gets to be about 36 or 37. I think the 2020 season will be another solid year for the Vikings, but I highly doubt it ends in a Super Bowl title unless the rookies they draft have an impact like the 49ers rookies did in 2019. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.